Today we are going to learn how to handle forms in React.js. Okay, so we are going to create a very simple form with a couple of elements like input box, and then we'll try to submit the values. Okay, so let's get started. So I have this app on my screen. So in this app, I have two JS files, index.js and app.js. Index.js is calling the app component, and then in the app component, I'm simply printing hello world. Okay, and let's see the output. So output is showing as hello world. Okay, now let's go ahead and create a very simple form in this app component. So let me give a fragment here. Okay, and let's give h1 tag my form. Let's say React form, and then we create a text box. Okay, so I'm going to give a paragraph tag, and then let's say I give input type equals text, and a placeholder, and a number. Okay, and below I give a button. Let's say submit. In the root I can actually give a form tag. Okay, I can give a form tag actually here instead of fragment, because this is a form that we are going to create. Okay, all right. Supposed to show me the screen. Okay, I have an input tag, and okay, I gave this wrong here. Why should I give this? Okay. Now, so form is ready. Okay. This form is just having an input type equal text and a button. So let's see the output. This is how the form is appearing on my screen. So it's asking enter a number, and there is a submit button. Okay. Um, the task that I want to do is I want to print the square of that number. Okay, so we have to capture this element and then perform the respective activity. So for that we have to create a function, okay, where we can perform this activity. So let's say I create a function constant. Let's say I handle submit. I give an arrow function here, and then basically whatever value I'm getting in this input box that I want to access. Okay, so before doing all this, let's recall the concept we have learned about use state. Okay, so let me create a variable const num, then I give set num, and give a default value of use state 0. Okay, so this is a variable num, and the default state of that is 0. And this is how we create. We had seen this earlier when we learned use effect and use state. Okay. Now this is a variable that we want to uh, use it to capture this number. Okay. So for that, what we'll do is input type equal text, and here I'm going to give um, value. Okay. The value is going to be the variable that we just created, num. Okay, so whatever is the value of num, that is what is going to be stored in this particular input box. Okay, and what you want to do is whenever any value is changed in this input box, we want to update the num field. So let's give an on change event, and going to give an arrow function over here to update, to change the value of num field. Okay, to an arrow function e, and then I to update, as we know already, to update the value of num, I have to call set num function, and there is an inbuilt provision here. If I give e dot target dot value, that means whatever the value we are going to store in this text box will be updated to the num field. All right, so that's how it works. Okay, now the num field value has been updated, and if I want to simply let's say I create another um, variable, const, I give another variable use case as a result. Okay, result, and then if I want to update this field, I give set result. By default, I'm giving use state of 0. Okay, so by default the value of this result is 0, and I'm trying to, let me update here, square is, and then after that I'm going to display the value of result variable, which is 0 at this time. Okay, so now if you simply save this and try to run, what will happen is, right, uh, in handle. Okay, so in order to use this use state, we'll have to uh, import it. So I'm going to give here use state. So now use state has been imported, so there shouldn't be any problem. Now if you see, the form has been shown on my screen, and it is showing square is 0, and in the text box also 0 has been displayed. Now square is 0 means, see, square is 0, so result, the value of result is by default 0. That is why it is showing square is 0. Similarly, in this value field, in that input box value field, I have given the variable num, and the default value of num is also 0. That's why both the places it is showing 0. And if I just remove this and just give quotes, then it's not going to show anything here. It's going to be blank. Okay. All right. Now, what's the action? Uh, if I click on this submit button, okay, it should come to this handle submit function, and here I want to update the value of result. I give set result equals, and I give num, uh, into num. So whatever is the value of num, it is going to multiply with the same number. So not equal, I have to give this in the bracket. I have to give this to update a use state. I have to give in the bracket. So set result in the bracket and give num into num. Now, so if I run this, actually, now even though I've given this handle submit function, which is going to update set result with num into num, it is not going to call because see if I give a number here, let's say 5, I click on submit button, nothing is happening. That is because I have not called the submit function. So let's give button and I give here on click, and on click I give handle submit, and now the handle submit as is character and submit function will be called. Okay, and which is going to multiply the value of num and display the result. Let's say I give a number here 5, click on submit. It is showing 25 and then it is getting removed. The reason for that is the form is getting submitted and page is refreshing. Okay, so because of that is what it's happening. Okay, now for that, what you can do is when you call this function, you can always accept a parameter called e in this handle submit, and then what you can do, you can prevent this form from submitting. So I can give e dot uh, prevent default. If I give like this, it is going to prevent the submit of that form. That means form will not be refreshed or page will not be refreshed. So let's see. So I refresh it the page and I type a number 5, click on the submit button. It is printing the square of 5, which is 25. So let me give 7, click on the submit button, it's printing 49. So how did we achieve it? What are the section in this page? So first we created the form, right? React form, which has a text box and a button. The text box will show the value of num, whatever the value of num is going to show, and the value of num we are going to update as soon as you change the content of the text box. So how it gets updated? We are calling a set num function, which is what is this. Whenever we call set num function and pass e dot target dot value, that means the current text box value will be passed to this function. And then we are giving e dot prevent default. This is to prevent the form submission, and then we're updating the value of result by calling set result method and passing the multiplication of num, right? Num into num. So as soon as this result is updated in line number 14, it is going to show the value. Okay, that is the cycle. That's how this is happening, right? Because action number one is I as soon as I type the value, the the num field has been updated to the value 7. Okay, here square is blank because the result has no value at this time. When I click on this submit, it is going to multiply 7 into 7 and then store that the variable result, which will be shown here, and which is what is 49. Okay, so this is how we handle a form in React.js. Uh, what we basically do is we create use state variables. Like if we have here name, email ID, address, and all that, we can have use state variables, and which we can update by using on change event. So as soon as you give this on change event, so whenever we are updating anything on that element, it is going to update the respective field. Okay. So and before we click on submit, all these use state variables will be having respective values. And then when we click on this button, it's going to call the function handle submit, which is an arrow function. And this function first prevents the form submission. Otherwise, if we don't give this line, the page will be refreshed and we won't be able to see the content for long. So as soon as we give e.prevent default, the form will stay there, and then I'm going to update the value of result by calling this set result method and passing num into num. So as soon as this method is called, the value of result will be updated, and that's how in line number 14 you're getting the updated result. All right. So this is how we handle the form, and I have tried to give a very simple form for you to understand. Now you can use this logic to build a complex form with multiple fields and practice it. Okay. All right. Thank you.